From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
Your voice, America. Your voice, America.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice.
The silent majority is silent no more.
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Your voice, America. Your voice, America.
Hello, America, and welcome to TuVoz America, where we're going to bring you the Hispanic viewpoint on why we are behind President Trump. We have many Hispanics across the nation that are willing to speak up. They've been speaking up, and we've been fighting the fight. Now, my hashtag has been, we ain't backing down. As Hispanics and Latinos across the country, we ain't backing down. So Democrats, we ain't backing down. When it comes to protecting God, we ain't backing down. When it comes to protecting the Second Amendment, we ain't backing down. When it comes to protecting pro-life, we ain't backing down. When it comes to protecting traditional marriage, we ain't backing down. When it comes to protecting the men and women in law enforcement and our army services, we ain't backing down. So I'm going to bring you a great show tonight. We're going to be talking about, again, oh my gosh, the left, they just gone berserk. So we have a lot of topics. Obviously, we're going to hit immigration because that's, for us as a Hispanic community, that is one of the issues that's at the forefront right now that is just sending the left over the edge. So I have a co-host tonight, and I want to welcome him. This is my dear friend, Marco Gutierrez. He is out in California, and Marco Gutierrez is our founder of Latinos for Trump. Marco was not afraid to speak up. He founded Latinos for Trump. He has been out day in, day out, fighting the left, out in California and across the country, making sure that Latinos have a voice in America. He is just a true patriot. And I just love him so much that I want to bring him on the show because he's going to bring you some great information about what he's been up to out in California. He is also the author of the SB 54 referendum. So I want to welcome Marco tonight, and I want to bring you a good show. Please hang in there with us as we are just coming to you. And I'm just so excited about this show. So Marco, say hi to our audience.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be here with you guys today. And just before I go on, I want to say that I'm the co-founder. I don't want to take credit for Latinos for Trump. We're all Latinos for Trump.
Yeah, that's right.
I sort of inherited Latinos for Trump, I think, because after I said my famous taco trucks on every corner moment comments, there was a lot of pressure from the campaign, and the group that we had sort of they upgraded into something different, and I kind of inherited Latinos for Trump, and I run with it. And there is Latinos for Trump everywhere.
Yes, we want to thank you for that because of you, we've been able to have, we have Latinos for Trump here in Texas, and I know that we have been working very diligently and very hard to make sure that we are always welcoming new members. And I know you can attest to that because you tell me all the time that you are getting emails, you get social media messages, people that are coming out and they're speaking out and they want to be part of Latinos for Trump. They want to back our president. They want to back his agenda. They want to defend America. They want to defend our Constitution, and they get it. They understand it. So Marco, tell us about that outreach that you're doing.
Well, first was my YouTube channel. I was going to other rallies. Then I sort of like found this beautiful family that I'm part of now, this patriot movement. But when really got serious is when I started getting phone calls or emails from students across the nation, from universities saying, Marco, I'm doing my thesis on political science. I'm doing my thesis on sociology. And I have chosen Latinos for Trump, the Latinos for Trump movement, because I think it was pivotal, and we talk about it, how controversial it was, and how hard all of you guys worked to to continue the fight. You know, the odds that the odds that we're gonna against.
That's right. That's right.
You,
So I want to talk about, I want to talk about, because you've been out there, really fighting the fight. I mean, Marco, you've gone and marched, you have gone and stood in front of capitals, you have gone and been the voice, you've been all over, social media, mainstream media, you've been doing it all. I mean, you are walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Okay. So I want to talk about immigration again, and also our national security, because some of our Hispanics just aren't getting it, and they're calling our president a racist because they think that because he wants to build a wall, that means he's racist. They are coming at him with some rhetoric that the left uses on him. I want you to give us our perspective, and I want you to tell us about what happened in California this past weekend. I think it's very important that people across the country find out what you discovered on the border. Tell us about it. Well,
this past weekend, and if I want to say, I think there is a lot of immigrants that are so ungrateful. I owe a lifetime of servitude and gratitude to this country. Every rally, when I'm invited to speak, I always say at the end of my speech that the United States of America, you guys, and I always refer to you guys, even though I am part of you now, that you educated me, you fed me, you gave me a wife, you gave me 6 children that I love, and you gave me an opportunity to be an American and to be part of this great nation. And the least I can do is to thank you for it. And unfortunately, we have some people that are not very happy, even though they're getting everything I already have. So at the border, we had a tour at the border. Chris gave us this tour. He's a border patrol. He asked us not to reveal exactly what function he has, but he's been doing these tours with governors, and I think he was on Tucker Carlson. And he explains the conditions in which men and women of the immigration agencies, enforcement agencies, work on there, and the waters that are contaminated that come from Mexico, the people that are caught in the crossfire. But what we found out is there's a high school in San Diego where most of the students of the high school are actually from Mexico. And they cross the border every day to go to school. And these people, they register. They have a friend or a family member that lives on this side of the border. So he says that it wouldn't be, there would be houses with 500 addresses for the sake that kids that live there. And the schools know that, and they don't do anything about it. That's outrageous. So that corruption that you see there at the border, it's a representation of what we have all across the nation, but at different levels. Now, some of these people don't get to go back to Mexico every day, right? Right. But they do. They get to do exactly what these people are doing. We went into a Denny's where we met this tour guy, and we felt so foreign in that Denny's. People looked at us like we were in the wrong country. Seriously, because there it's sort of like being taken over. If if you guys get a chance, go and take that tour. I have the name and number of the guy that does. He's so happy to do the tour because he is trying to bring conscience. He's trying to get Jerry Brown to see that Mexico needs to. They need to step up to the plate and help. It's not just it's not a one-sided effort here. We need to get Mexico to. And this is what Donald Trump was saying. When we said, when are we going to fight Mexico at the border? That's what was going through my mind. Yeah, he was right. They're screwing us over at the border. I mean, that's why we voted for him. That is why we voted for him. If you think about it, those that understand what we are up against, that's why we voted on it for him. So to keep on. I mean, let us know, because I know that we talked about some other things that you also revealed at the border. Right. Then you have something that was a little sad is to see that there is a people there that that they just gotta go there to die because they don't have IDs, they don't have anything. Mexico doesn't want them, the United States doesn't want them. So it's kind of sad to see those people that are lost there in drugs. So I hope that Mexico steps up to the plate and they do something about that. But what we also did is we went to Kevin De Leon's office, and we're finding
that's that Democrat.
Right. And you should see this office. It's this little hole in the wall that is sort of taking over the whole state. It's got us hostage with that SB 54. Right. So yeah, I'm the author of SB 54 referendum, and we're going to upgrade that into an initiative because there's a lot more things that we want the people of California to have a say on that referendum because this law, they didn't ask the people of California and they're okay with all law. And this sanctuary state philosophy doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah. They've taken advantage of y'all is what they've done in California. These politicians have just made laws that they think that represent you and they don't. So tell us why is it that you felt the need to write that referendum? What inspired you to do that?
For one, I think that the Hispanic communities have been taken hostage by the left. That's really why I got into this. But another one is that they think we're stupid. You know, they think we don't see. They're using the word sanctuary, and the word sanctuary is sacred to a lot of people, mainly Hispanics.
That's right. That's right.
So the Democrats, the left, they have been injecting fear and anger into our communities. They seduce them emotionally using the word sanctuary. Now, I'm not going to find many Hispanics out there that are going to want to fight a sanctuary, something that's called sanctuary, you know, because you say that they're going to want to light a candle and probably start praying.
Yeah.
Right? When you hear the word sanctuary.
That's right.
So these godless people are using words that go with our human nature, that, you know, like dreamers. Now I can see a sanctuary bill for, you know, to protect the wildlife, you know, to protect maybe the fish out there, but not to protect criminal elements.
That's right. So one of the things that I did notice, Marco, also is that in a lot of y'all's live feeds, as y'all were up there, you know, at the doing your I don't know if you called it a rally, your protest, and you were doing it on behalf of No Sanctuary State and also on behalf of Kate Stein, and I did see that you received opposition at the border. Tell us about that.
Right. So when Will Johnson. And then when we started this rally at the border, we were a little skeptical in how we're going to do it because we were at the border. There's a picture that I can share with you later where Will Johnson, me, the tour guy, and Ben are behind us is the wall, the border. So that was very, very powerful, but at the same time, we didn't know what kind of opposition we were going to get at the rally. So when we did the rally that day, we had so many people, patriots that came to support from Arizona, from all over California. And yes, we did get some of the opposition. And it's so amazing that everywhere we go, they have the same banners. You know, they have these banners that have this La Raza / the indigenous groups, and now they're sort of mutating into the Antifa philosophy. So we don't even know who they really are, but they kind of they borrow each other's chants, they borrow each other's signs. Their signs are pre-printed, so
they're being funded. They're being funded by someone. And I'd really like to, I'm curious about who that is. And it's got to be these left organizations. You know, it has to be. I know that back in the day, we had found some links with the Antifa. Do you recall that we, from state to state, we found that there was a union where the Antifa meets? Remember that? So
Oh
these
yeah,
people are being
uh,
funded. Somebody is funding them, and they are definitely giving them money, printing out their signs. They're organized. That's what our conservative base, our Hispanics need to understand, that these people aren't messing around. They're here to destruct, destroy. They don't care about our country. They don't care about our Constitution. They don't care about national security. They don't care about anything other than themselves. They are being used by people. Our Hispanics are waking up. And I know that. You're a witness to that. Are you a witness to that? I mean, help me get that message out, that there is plenty of Hispanics that are waking up and finally seeing the truth.
yeah, I think that people, I can attest to this, people in the Hispanic community are feeling more freedom to identify with me and the movement and what I represent than this thugs, than this I call them enmascarados. I mean, if my grandma saw these guys, she wouldn't go for them. She would support Donald Trump just by looking at the way these guys behave.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're like terrorists. They're anarchists.
You know,
It's crazy.
when the shooting in Vegas happened, one of my friends that I think he's illegal. I haven't asked him, but he called me on Facebook. He says, "Hey, Marco, they are shooting the anti-Trump people are shooting at the Trump supporters." That's what he said before anything went out.
Wow,
So they know
wow.
that there's an anti-Trump operation that is not
Yeah,
necessarily a good thing, and we need to capitalize on that. We need to. I tell a lot of people that Hispanics. I was at more. That I was at more the mother of
yes,
all rallies,
yes. In Washington D.C. Yes,
and part of my speech was that Hispanics. Uh, there is moral and cultural and values that we can harvest, that we can integrate into the United States, into the successfully and ethically and healthy. How do you say saludablemente?
health.
Yeah, in a
Yeah,
healthy
yeah,
manner.
healthy. Yeah,
Yeah, without all this fight, without all this, oh my God, he called us rapists, he called us this, I think I'm getting tired of all that, because um, it's true, we're emotional, yeah, the Hispanics, you remember how the DNC, they had study our communities.
oh yeah, oh yeah. The emails that came out. Yeah, yeah,
The emails that came out, I give them a lot of credit because they really hit it. We are loyal. Yes, we
yeah.
are generational. If
Yes,
you know what my
yes,
dad does,
yes.
I'm gonna do, and then we are very we. If you offend one of us, you offend everybody, and
That's
then
right. That's right. We stick
so.
up for
But
each other. That's why we believe in a family unit. That's why our Hispanics have to understand that they're really more conservative, and the left has taken advantage of them and enabled them to believe that they need to depend on the government to survive. And that is not the case. Because as you and I both agree on this. As Hispanics, we believe in family. We believe in God, and God comes first, then comes family. We only care about jobs, putting food on the table, our kids getting a good education, and that's what we care about. Those are the things that we care about. And you're right. Listen, when push comes to shove, and my mom has always said, I mean, we were, 7 brothers and sisters, Marco, in my family. So
wow,
my mom always said, we could fight against each other. Oh my God, we had fights all the time, my brothers and sisters, and we called each other names. But the minute anybody else outside our family unit attacked us, you were attacking everybody. I mean, everybody would come at you. So, that's a thing that I think that our Republican Party really needs to start understanding about our Hispanic culture, is they really need to get to know us. We are a unity, and we are very conservative. So I want to thank you for coming on, and we're gonna wrap up and go into a commercial here, and so anyway, I thank you for coming on, and we're going to continue our conversation and go on into some other things that I know you've been working on. So any last thoughts right now as we break?
well, you mentioned the Republican Party out there. I'm new to this country. I was born and raised in Mexico, and what I have seen, you should see my Instagram account. I have all these millenniums that some of them fight me, some of them look for me, but what I have seen is that they're just waiting for us to tell them what to do. I mean, a lot of these millennials,
yes.
they feel guilty of being Americans. They want one of us to tell them it's okay to be an American. It's okay to love your country. So if the Republican Party can help us, because a lot of these kids, they feel guilty, so they don't want to challenge their parents, but they need to find the strength within themselves to say, look, Dad, if you and the freaking country you came from that failed you, and I had to go through all this, learn a new language, so I'm going to be an American, whether you like it or not,
They need to learn that just because they assimilate into America doesn't mean that they're giving up their culture or where they were born, where they come from. They came from Nicaragua, they came from Venezuela. It doesn't mean that you're giving that up. It means that you still have those values, but now you really need to learn to assimilate into the country that's providing for you. So you're absolutely right. I think that is you hit it. I mean, you're hitting it right there. I mean, people need to understand the Hispanics. We are a little different, no? We're just a little different. But, it's amazing to see how many of us are speaking out. I've become unsilenced. That's what I say. I'm in silence, and I've been pushing for the last, year and something that we ain't backing down. I've been pushing that message because I see Hispanics that are standing up, that are voicing out, that are coming out, that are saying enough is enough. Hey, y'all need to sit down and shut up and wait for, something to happen because you're messing it up for the rest of the people. These little DACA people, they just don't get it. And I'm getting sick of the rhetoric, and I'm an American, so I'm going to defend this country, period. So I thank you for that. And we're going to, like to take a break right now. And thank you for watching here on TuVoz America. We'll be back with you in a minute. Hello, America, and we're back on TuVoz America. I'm here joined by Marco Gutierrez out in California. We've been talking about what has been happening in California and how he has been fighting the fight, against sanctuary state. He went to the border. He's been giving us some knowledge, some education, and I want to get right back into that and talk about those things. I want to talk about your viewpoint on DACA. I was reading the other day, actually yesterday, there was the DACA kids. Now, somebody funded them. Okay, this is my other thing. Somebody funded these DACA kids. They were in D.C. at the Capitol, and they were, supposedly they had tents. Okay, Marco? They had tents outside the Capitol. They had a billboard, and they were encouraging people, these dreamers and DACA recipients, to send in videos, because if they couldn't fly in, they were posting their videos demanding amnesty, demanding that they need to have amnesty, and amnesty now. Now, I don't know about you, but as an American, I'm done with it. I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to help them, and I'm going to keep calling my state reps and my congressmen and saying, you know what? I don't even want to negotiate with these people because they're not grateful for anything. They have proposed a bill, and that's not good enough for them. I'm sorry. I am not for amnesty, and I am not for just handing out citizenship. I don't care what the situation is. You better learn to respect this country. You better learn to respect our Constitution, and you better learn to respect our laws. And if you can do those things, I have a heart. So I want to work with people, but my gosh, enough is enough. And the Democrats keep using these people. They use these people, and I feel like they're brainwashed. That they just believe that, if they demand something, I'm sorry, but you're here illegally. You have no right to demand anything. I, as an American citizen, I demand things. Do you think I get them? No. No one, I don't just run around demanding things myself, and it's just anybody in the Senate or the Congress is just going to go, okay, yes. Hey, Bianca, anything you want. Demand what? Oh, sure. It doesn't work that way. There's a process, people, and I'm getting tired of it. Marco, I want you to talk about, how do you feel about that?
It is unfortunate that these kids have taken that position. And one thing that I can say about the DACA kids, I admire their courage and I admire their fight. But some people have really taken advantage of their cause and they're using it for political gain. Because I'm a mortgage broker by trade, and when we approve a loan, you have to be willing, able, and ready. These people, okay, they have the willingness, but the thing is, when they start being so defiant, when they have taken this fight the way they have been doing it, it's just you're right. It feels in Spanish we have a saying that's called limosneros y con garrote. Have you heard that saying before?
No, I haven't. What does that mean?
Limosneros y con garrotes, like beggars with a stick. You know, they're begging, but they have a stick.
Yeah.
So it's like, excuse me,
it's nonsense. Listen, get back in the line. There's people that came here legally, and you don't see them demanding things, And I think that
they have lost the value. They have lost. They don't value this country the way they should value. They have taken it for granted. They have that. What a beauty it is. That whatever we have already given them, they should be grateful for that.
Yeah.
Just like I told you, every time I start a speech, I say I'm a grateful citizen of the United States. These people have a very wrong message, and I think I can see why Americans. And again, I'm going to say Americans. I know I'm American, but I'm still having a hard time being 100% integrated. Americans are so generous, and that's why a lot of countries keep taking advantage of us, of them.
Yeah.
And this is the latest thing. They should stop and see that if they approve 800,000 DACA kids, they're essentially approving about 11 million people, because they all have at least 10 people around them that they're going to try to emigrate with those papers. Now, multiply that.
Yes. Well, that the bill, one of the things that I know that Donald Trump does want to end is this chain migration, which means that would end, all of that would end. You can't no longer bring your aunts and your uncles and your brother-in-laws and your sister-in-laws and your neighbors and everybody else that lived in your village. You got to only bring in your wife or your husband or your children, period. And that's the end of story. And that's the thing that I think that I am really for. I'm like, first of all, and to be honest, my viewpoint is that until that wall gets built and we secure our borders, I'm not really ready to really talk about any kind of anything else, because we can't just issue any kind of work permit or anything. People just, our borders, you were there in the border, Marco. How easy. You're telling me that there's kids that walk across the border to come to our schools. They're using our public education, and then they walk back across the border. You don't think that for 1 minute, the minute that we offer any kind of anything, these people are going to flood in to come and say they've been here, and, fraud's going to go up in records. I mean, we can't do that. We got to secure our border first before we do anything else. But, in the meantime, these little dreamers and DACA people need to sit down and just shut up and just wait, because they're going to make it worse for the ones that are sitting down and being quiet and waiting and praying for something to happen. The hard workers that are here, that have just worked, that don't really want to, they left whatever country they came from to get away from the corruption, to get away from, and have an opportunity. And these little kids are just going to ruin it for everybody else. So I don't know. What do you think?
Did you watch the movie Coco?
I have not.
Okay,
is that a cartoon? I don't know which is Coco.
Don't like it because they think it's pro-immigration, open border kind of thing. But it's beautiful. It's about the Day of the Dead. And there's this little kid that I want that kid, Americans to think that kid is my kid. But unfortunately, what's going to happen is that people, when they see a Hispanic kid, they think it's a DACA kid, or they think it's a potential criminal. And we're devaluing we're shooting ourselves in the foot with this attitude. I've been talking about cases, Jose Inez Garcia Zarate, the criminal that killed Kate Stiley, that was deported 5 times. So that message has taken over. And I can understand why a lot of Americans, and I want to say Americans again, are just sick and tired of this crap.
That's right. That's right.
We
We
are.
are.
We are
We're getting fed up. Listen, the catch and release program. These are criminals that keep coming back into our country because there is no security. You can't have two border patrol agents to cover what 10 miles, 20 miles, whatever their parameters are. It's impossible. It is impossible. We've got to secure our border.
Oh,
First
and
and
another thing,
foremost.
another note on that border, and then we continue talking about DACA. Something that Donald Trump was right about was about the bad hombres. Okay? So check this out.
Yeah.
The people that are moving the human traffic industry at the border are the cartels or the big mafia guys. You don't have mama and papa coyotes crossing a family anymore. So the
No.
ones that are crossing by themselves or two or three at a time are the bad hombres. And that's why this guy wants government officials to help him, because when they stop these guys, some of them are armed. Some of them are bad people, that they're going to hurt our agents, our officials there.
Well,
So
and speaking about that, you're exactly right. Listen, the left always says we got to have more gun control. Well, I don't know if you read, but we lost a border patrol agent, a couple weeks ago here crossing the border. They stoned. Listen, they didn't use guns. They didn't have weapons. They stoned a border patrol agent to death. And the other one was severely injured. Those are the bad hombres. I'm sorry, it's the reality. That is what comes across. You're exactly right. And you know what? Speaking of human trafficking, that is one of the, oh my gosh, we won't get into this channel because I could go on and on about human trafficking and the things that I know about human trafficking. But that's one of the causes that I'm very passionate about, that people do not understand that is what's coming across the border. There are women and children that are getting trafficked across the border, being sold to be used as slaves. Why aren't we talking about that? And why is our Hispanic community outraged? They shouldn't be outraged. They should be defending.
exactly, we need to take responsibility for what goes on into our communities.
Absolutely.
If
right.
I do something wrong, my mom will probably take me to jail. Most Hispanic moms, through Hispanic, that they would take their kids to jail. If they
You know
do
what? Yeah,
something wrong.
my speaking of that, listen, I know people can relate to us as Hispanics. Listen, growing up, yes, you're right. If I broke curfew, if I came in late past 11 and my mother said, you better be in by 11. And one time I tried to badmouth her and say, yeah, why don't you just call the cops and, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, Marco, she said, get in the car. We're going to the cops right now and let's see what they'll do about that. I'm your mother and you don't tell me what to do. Let me tell you something. You're absolutely right. Listen, our mothers don't put up with that. Where is our responsibility? Our moms, I think there's a lot of Hispanic moms out there that are just in so much fear. They don't know, they don't understand, they don't understand our values. They don't understand conservatism. They're being fed lies and fear, and they're being used by the left, by the Democrats. They are used, and it's time for them to wake up. And people like me and you need to educate them. And I'm so grateful for, your Voice America that's given us this platform, TuVoz America, because we can push out this message and talk about what's really going on in our communities.
God, yes. We have to do something about Univision and Telemundo. Because these guys because they do all this in Spanish. Once in a while, we hear Jorge Ramos going into the English side, but normally it's all Spanish, and there's like they're telling them something else. They're just
Feeding them the agenda.
That's a form of abuse, actually. I think my comments on that was that Univision, Telemundo, and the Democrats, they're interfering in the natural integration process of Hispanic immigrants into this country. How do you like that one?
It's crazy.
They're interfering. And I think that's illegal. Actually, if we sue them and say, why are you interfering in my natural integration process? Because of you, I lost my home. Because of you, I went bankrupt. Because of you, my kids are doing crime.
Do you know, Marco, that I think that, back in the civil rights movement, when Martin Luther King spoke up for the black people, we haven't had a Hispanic that has risen up with a big voice and says, you know what, we're going to do a class action lawsuit because you know what, my rights as a Hispanic and a minority are being infringed on.
Exactly.
What about my freedom of speech? What about my constitutional rights? I'm a born citizen of the United States of America. What about my rights? All of a sudden, Antifa has more rights than I do? The left groups have more rights than I do? Planned Parenthood has more rights than I do? Has our country lost its mind? How do our Hispanics, some of them, not see that? But because you're right, Telemundo and Univision has been brainwashing them for years. They feed them the agenda, you know, that only they want them to hear, you know, and it's insane. It's insane of what they're doing to our communities. It's insane what they're doing to our gente. And I truly believe that, you know, we have had shows. I mean, you and I have done live videos and we are reaching more people and they're getting the message. They're understanding. I get private messages just like you saying, tell me what to do. I always do a call to action. I tell them to get involved. You know what? Get involved. Get involved with an organization. Get involved with a local GOP. Get involved with whatever conservative group. Make sure it's a conservative group. Make sure you get involved. Be a voice. And if there's no group wherever you live, I tell people all the time, form one. 2, 3 people, that's a group. You know, take action. Spread the message. Tell people they're being used. Spread the message. You know what? Conservatism, we are God, family, traditional marriage, less government in our lives. We are for capitalism. We believe in, you know what? I know you've talked about this. You got a lot of heat for that taco truck thing. But I'll tell you what, that's one thing that you do understand. Hispanics, Mexicans, I don't care, Latinos, they understand that they're going to do whatever it takes to put food on the table and pay the bills, and they're going to do anything it takes to survive. We are natural entrepreneurs. Whether it's selling burritos out of our car, tamales, it doesn't matter. You're going to find a way to survive. And that is the one thing that Hispanics do understand. That's why Donald Trump reached them when he said jobs, jobs, jobs. And now we have, for the first time in history, the lowest unemployment for Hispanics, 4.7%. We've never seen that. Because at the end of the day, Hispanics, they care about work. And those that came here illegally, what they come to do? To work. They came here to work. They wanted a job. So, Marco, I mean, you get it. You get it. But California, I feel for you guys out there. It's like you're outnumbered. And these politicians have taken advantage. But I thank you for fighting the fight, for standing up, and you know what, for being relentless and not quieting down or letting anybody silence you. You know what? Again, hashtag we ain't backing down. That has been my hashtag. We are not going to back down. And any Democrat that watches this video, I'm telling you right now, I'm sending you a clear message. Hispanics, Latinos, anybody who supports Donald Trump and is conservative to the core and cares about this country, we ain't backing down. How do you like that?
Thank you so much. That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. You know, it's time. It's time for the Hispanic community to wake up. We need to take our position at the table. You know, we need to, just like the Irish and the Italians did, we need to take responsibility for our problems first, and then we need to take our place and to contribute the beauty of our culture. You know, there's so, like you were saying, there is this cultural, you know, this work labor force that is so beautiful, but we need to structure that.
That's right. Marco, I want to thank you for coming on today. I want to thank you for being with us today. You're going to be one of my co-hosts, and I want to, you know, take the time to introduce you to TuVoz America. This is an exciting time for us. I thank you so much. And, you know, God bless, Marco, for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, Latinos. We are back on TuVoz America, and I am excited to bring Jenny Lynn Salinas now on the show. We have just been talking to Marco Gutierrez out in California, and he's brought us some wealth of knowledge. We had a great conversation, but now I want to bring Jenny Lynn on because she has a different perspective of some things that are happening here in the state of Texas and things that she has been working on. Jenny Lynn grew up in the border as well. Gosh, we have all these Hispanics that grew up in the border and truly understand why we need national security and why we want the wall, why we support President Trump and why we support his agenda. So Jenny Lynn is obviously, she's an educated person. She has been working on some campaigns. She worked on the Trump campaign. She worked on the Ben Carson campaign. She is also on the board of Texans United for America. Is that correct, Jenny?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. I want to welcome you on the show, and we're going to get right into some of the topics I've been talking about today. And of course, one of the big hot topics for us is immigration and the bill that's happening right now, what's been happening with Kate Stein and DACA and these DACA kids. I want to talk about and get your perspective, as a Hispanic, minority, and what you've been going through and what has been happening on your end. So Jenny Lynn, tell our audience a little bit about you.
Well, like you said, I am a vice president on the board of Texans United for America. And we first started the organization because of the resistance movement. We started to see a lot of violence happening in the streets, and there was a lot of name calling, and it just seemed like conservatives were sort of losing a lot of their motivation, to get out there and continue. And they were kind of intimidated. So we decided to join in March for Trump. It was a national march to get patriots to come out of their homes and just enjoy a really nice march and rally. So we organized one in Austin, Texas.
And Jenny, I went to that march, and I want to talk about how you had about 2,000, you, my lady friend, organized 2,000 people on the streets. You brought them from everywhere, and you fundraised to make sure this march happened. So I want to thank you for your patriotism. I want to thank you for what you've done for our country, what you've done for our president, how you continue to do that. I want to go right into this. I want you to tell us about what happened this past weekend as you organized yet another, march or protest, whatever you want to call it, vigil, that you organized on behalf of Kate Stein and what happened to her and the ruling that came out of California. Tell us a little bit about what happened and about what you encountered.
Well, as soon as the ruling came out, I was watching national television, and I mean, as you know, I'm always on social media, and I started to notice a lot of frustration coming out of the right. Conservatives were really upset. How can this illegal immigrant come to our country, kill someone, change his story a couple of times, have his felony backgrounds be completely thrown out of court, and it was a tragedy. We couldn't believe what was happening. And then someone was like, "We should riot in the street," and I said, "No, we don't do that. That's not what we do." So I decided to connect with a friend of mine in Boston that organizes a lot of protest and peaceful protest. Does a lot of free speech rallies there. So we got to talking, and we're like, let's do a national protest. So we decided to get a bunch of people that are in the movement that do a lot of different rallies across the country. And we started the No Sanctuary Cities national protest in honor of Kate Stein. And it went great in some cities.
You're a minority. You organized something on behalf. That's amazing, Jenny. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, and it wasn't easy because we had so many people that kept on coming into the Facebook event pages and calling us Nazis and telling us this was wrong for us to do. How is it wrong? This was honoring Kate Stein. We don't want sanctuary cities. Austin is a sanctuary city. San Antonio, Laredo, Texas. These are all cities I've lived in, worked in. I don't feel safe in my city, and after seeing what happened to Kate, a lot of people were just kind of chiming in. They were all like, I want to organize this in Boston. We had one in Portland, Oregon. We had one in California. We had one in New York City, New Jersey. There was just organizers coming in from everywhere. And some of them went over well. Austin, well, that didn't go over too well. And I had never seen that before.
I want you to tell our audience what happened to y'all in Austin. When y'all started marching, what happened to y'all?
Well, when we got to Austin, we were, we already had a lot of people there that they had already set up. I got a call from a friend of mine that said, hey, I've been here since 11 o'clock, and there's a bunch of Antifa and Red Guard here. There's a lot of police officers here. They've drawn a line, and so just be careful coming in. And we're here, gave me their location of where they're going to be. So that's what I did. Once I got there, I mean, they were yelling, screaming, calling us names. I was waiting for a couple of my other friends to get there. We had already gotten permission from the Capital City manager to go ahead and march from the park, meet at the park, Woolridge Park, and we were going to march with our posters peacefully to the Capitol, where a couple of us were going to speak and then remember Kate Steiner. And so what ended up happening was not what we expected. Our route was changed at the last minute. The officer said, you're going to go this way, you're going to go that way, because we're going to try to protect you guys from Antifa and Red Guard. So we went another route. They were chasing us. The police were trying to hold them down. Somehow they were able to get away from the police officers, and I'm sure you saw that in some of my live videos on Facebook. And they just started to attack us. They attacked the police officers, but they were trying to attack us as well.
I saw someone get mazed. I saw you get punched.
Yeah.
I saw them screaming at y'all. I did see that. I witnessed that on your live video, obviously, and that makes me sad. We as conservatives can't have a peaceful march in support of what we believe in, because all of a sudden we're the bad people.
Yeah, I agree. And what was really sad about it is we identified, after going back through some of the live feeds, some college professors in the group with Red Guard and Antifa. I mean, this is the kind of indoctrination they have in universities. These were college kids that came out there wanting to create violence, attacking older women like myself, the president of our organization, some just regular protesters there, and they maced her in the face, and they punched the lady that was next to me. The lady tried to punch me in my arm, which at that point I tried to pull her mask down so that I could get a look at her face. But this is what they do. They come with their faces covered. They don't want to be recognized. The police know that they're covering their faces because of that very reason. They're going to harm. And I had never seen this before. I was talking to Jennifer about this, and this is a whole new kind of it's not like the old Antifa that they would show up, they would kind of protest. Sometimes they would try to get violent. These were all new faces. There was a much more violent type of group, and I know they think they've switched from being called Antifa to now Red Guard, I guess, because
that's what I wanted you to bring up. I wanted you to bring that up. You have noticed and you witnessed now that Antifa has moved into they've transitioned into a new type of organization, Red Guard, right? Is that what you're calling them?
Yes, that's exactly what we noticed, and it's sad. It's sad because you're seeing a lot of older people kind of mix. Some of them were not wearing masks, but the ones that were wearing masks, they had guns, and there was a moment where I really felt very scared and defeated because a fight broke out. The police were knocked to the floor. They had guns, and I just thought in that moment, are we about to hear gunshots, come flying out of nowhere? It was the worst experience, but we kept on marching. The police were like, you need to keep going. And we did. I mean, we kept going. Even if I wanted to leave at that point, even if I wanted to walk away, grab my poster board and say, I'm done, they would have chased me. They would have followed me to my car. They did follow me to my car, and they would have hurt all of us.
Unbelievable. I'm thankful. I don't even know how to say this. I mean, but Jenny, I mean, you're such a patriot to stay out there. You're brave and courageous. And the fact that they're not, because they cover their faces. And to think that this was happening in a very conservative state. We live in the state of Texas, which has been known to be a red state. But after, you know, you and I have talked about this, after what happened in Alabama recently, they're coming after state of Texas.
They are.
We're witnessing this behavior in a march like you did, and y'all were outnumbered. If we're witnessing this type of behavior, they are organized, they're being funded. Our conservative people need to know what is happening out to us conservatives that are willing to step out on a street, in a march, roll up our sleeves and do that work and be the voice of our people and be the voice of America. And we are the ones that are being looked at as bad for organizing these protests or marches or, you know, peaceful events. And I think it's very tragic. I feel like our constitutional rights are being infringed, and our constitutional rights are being violated. And that's the bottom line.
And, you know, it was crazy when I remember there was a moment when I got up to the Capitol and I was talking to, you know, somebody next to me. Some guy said, Nazi, you Nazi. And I turned around and I said, I'm not a Nazi. I'm a conservative. And he goes, no, you're far beyond conservative. You are extreme right. You're a Nazi. And I said, I'm extreme right because I don't want a sanctuary city, because I don't want illegals coming into my country and possibly killing me or my child or my family members or one of my friends. And I don't want to harbor them here in the city or any city, really. That makes me a Nazi. That makes me far extreme. I think what's more extreme is that you are against the law, that you're for something that's against the law. That's extreme. And, you know, he didn't really want to argue with me too much. There was a lot of commotion going on and people screaming at us. But I saw the look in his face. You know, he was a little quiet. That comes out on my live feed, too. But I think that it's just scream and yell and chant and shout and hurt at whatever means, because whatever the conservatives are for, the Democrats are going to be against. It's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing. And the division that's happening, it's sad. It's sad to see actual college professors, you know, educated people going to a protest where they know their people they're with are going to incite violence on innocent people, and they're there with them, cheering them on, yelling at them, calling them names. I don't understand that.
And Jenny, we saw this in Berkeley. This is what happened in Berkeley. We saw the fact that there was professors involved. You know, as a mother, and you as a mother, we have children, and our kids want to go to college. And I, as a Hispanic, you know, coming from the barrio, you know, I was the first one to go to college myself in my family. And you aspire to get an education and you know, be educated and become better and do all those things. And now I sit here as an American citizen and I wonder, should I send my child to college? Is it worth it? Because I'm kind of a little bit afraid that they're going to indoctrinate him. And I really believe that I've raised him the right way. But these professors have an agenda. And the thing is that we as conservatives have been silent for about 60 years. This is 60 years of work. They started this. Hillary and her husband started this whole, you know, Marxism, socialist, you know, they started this so many years ago. And so it's going to be hard to break down that barrier. But people like you and I and Marco out in California, who I had on earlier, You know, people like us that are taking a stand and becoming unsilenced and doing things, we do it for our children. I know I do. I know you do. You want a better America. You know, when Donald Trump said, you know, make America great again, that really hit hard because I grew up in a very good America. I grew up in the 80s and I remember it was booming back then. That was when the Reagan years and every, you know, people were happy, you know, our money, you know, our country had money and I mean, everybody had jobs. I mean, it's just a wonderful time, you know, in a life. And I saw that deteriorating, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And now, you know, I don't want to leave a country that is going to be, ends up socialist like Venezuela to my children.
Right.
Where the government tells them what to do and, you know, how to do it and when to do it and what food they're going to eat and not eat and how much food they're going to have and not have. And, you know, where they have no rights. And
more importantly, you know, what history they're going to learn. I don't want my daughter to be indoctrinated either. This is why I really like Donald Trump's voucher program. I love it. I want
school choice.
I almost desperately want to remove my daughter from her public school. I'm able to afford to put her into a private school, private Christian school, because that's how I was raised, and I want that same for my daughter. I've actually even considered pulling her and homeschooling her because I just don't think that the elementary schools here are meeting the expectation. I was learning so many more. They've done away with science projects. When did we stop doing science projects in school? They've done away with reading programs. My daughter at her old school was required to read 100 books in a year. She doesn't bring one single book home to read, not even one a week. I feel like they're dumbing up our children.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what, Jenny, just so that you know, I do homeschool my children. So that is why I identify even more so as a conservative and as a Republican, because Republicans do back school choice. So I you know, and I'm sure that that's another reason why you also, you know, identify as a conservative, because that is one of our, you know, part of our principles is school choice, is giving the parents the right to choose what they want for their child. So I really applaud that. I just thank you for all that you do and you know, and also for sticking up for your daughter. So, and you're right, you know, our public school system, and I'm not dogging everybody and I'm not trying to say that we don't have good teachers and all that, but you know, there's a deterioration of education in our public schools. There is. And there's sad that there's good teachers out there and they can't teach.
Yes, and Ben Carson goes over this a lot. And I think what really inspired me to help Ben Carson in his presidential campaign was his speech that he gave in Washington. I forgot, I think it was it was a Washington National Breakfast speech he gave in front of Obama, where he was talking about what sixth grader requirements were back, you know, 50, 60 years ago compared to what the requirements are. And we have done our children. We don't require them to meet, we don't push them as much as we used to. And I really do feel very strongly about that, because my daughter, she struggles now with things that she never used to struggle with before.
Yeah.
Simple things that, you know, and I told her, I mean, I've had several talks about with other parents that feel that they have the same frustrations.
Right. Well, I know that you have a lot to say about that, and maybe we can talk about that in a different show, you know, on more about the education, and we can focus on that. But we have run out of time tonight. I want to thank you for coming on tonight and joining us on Your Voice America, TuVoz America. I want to thank all of our patriots out there, all of our Hispanics. You know, share this video, share our message, and share that we are Latinos, we are strong, and hashtag we ain't backing down. That's what our hashtag has always been. I want to thank you, Jenny Lynn. You're coming in from Texas. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and everybody have a good evening.